Hey yo guys, this is me returning back to YouTube as, there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on, just haven't had the time to talk about it. Of course, there's this week in general a lot of, stuff going on in the world of combat sports as well as sports per se, but we're obviously mainly going to stick to the combat sports side of things. Um, I'm definitely going to talk about, TNA Bound for Glory later on in this video, but, we'll talk about the UFC show tonight, which is a UFC 104 Machida versus Shogun from the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California. Gotta say for this show, it's actually a pretty good card. I'd have to say for maybe a B show. It's a bunch of guys that are hardworking fighters that like to bring it. Main event really was kind of hard to sell, for a pay-per-view for live attendance purposes, and especially in California where they really struggle to draw really good attendance. That's a toughie there. And the fact that most Californians really don't care that much about sports like mixed martial arts or anything like that, unless it's an established thing. Like the only sporting thing that really is cared about in the state of California would have to be the Lakers, especially Los Angeles. I guess that's my main thing in Los Angeles. Like boxing, yeah, if you have a pretty well-known, Mexican fighter going there, or even a pretty, a homegrown guy from the state of California as well. But, the only real guy they were trying to sell to you is Cain Velasquez, and he's still a unproven commodity, especially in the fact, his two main appearances on, UFC programming, whether it was his fight night fight against Dennis Stojanik from Tampa, as well as his fight in UFC 99 against Czech Congo. There's just unproven stuff there, and just that he almost got knocked out by Congo. Came back, was able to get the job done and score the decision because Congo has zero wrestling, but still unproven, and it's just really hard to sell a show locally, especially the Latino community, on an unproven guy. If he absolutely blown away, like he blew away Stojanik to an extent, but it was just a weird, wacky kind of way to finish the fight. It was like, are you done? You done? And then they kind of stopped it. That was kind of heartful, and he really didn't get the performance I think he wanted. And then the Congo fight happened, and that's definitely a performance he didn't want. So that's just my thoughts there. But if you're a casual sports fan, I really don't know if you're gonna spend your $49.99 to see this show, considering there's the Major League Baseball playoffs, which have been really fantastic this year, I'd have to say. And I'm a guy that hates baseball, but this is the only time I can watch baseball, and I have to say that the playoffs as a whole have been just damn great, especially a couple of games in the Phillies Dodgers series as well. Now this Angels Yankees series, which has been great stuff. So I'm not sure if you're really going to do that. But should I say absolutely avoid the UFC card? No, because now your main event, you have Shogun versus Machida. I think this fight is actually a lot more intriguing, more so than say it would have been a couple months ago, even a year ago. As you have Shogun, who a lot of people are saying this is the Shogun from Pride. It came back against Chuck Liddell. I'm still doubtful of that. Come on, he beat Chuck Liddell, but this isn't the same Chuck. Ever since Chuck had suffered that loss to Quentin Rampage Jackson back at UFC 71, I really didn't see him being the same guy. He had that one shining performance against Vanderlei Silva, but come on, 1 out of 5? That's hard to say. And I don't know. I still think it's unproven, but he looked like he had better cardio, and that the knee surgery stuff had, gone away from him. And, Machida now coming off of really two excellent performances, I'd have to say. That performance against Rashad Evans back at UFC 98, where he won the belt, was probably his best performance inside the octagon. But, people forget his performance against Thiago Silva was just as good, and, scored, the only knockout on that card, I believe, back at UFC 94 in January of this year. So that's just something. I think this is going to be a really interesting fight. See how Shogun can handle this karate. I mean, Shogun is someone who probably really should be, a true champion, but, because of the fact he couldn't get the belt in Pride because Vanderlei Silva had it, whatever. But I'm really looking forward to this fight just to see, what can happen, because, it's always, the first title defense, stuff can happen. as well, let's see what Shogun can do, and let's see how Machida does. Let's see if Shogun can be the first. It's just a lot of what ifs, and that kind of intrigues me in the fight. The other fight would have to be Ben Rothwell, Cain Velasquez. This fight really is one that interests me. As you know, Ben Rothwell was supposed to be on this card in the undercard portion against Chase Bromley, but the UFC's like, whoa, this Rothwell's way too good to be, going up against a Chase Bromley, so they scratched that. Chase Bromley's still on this card. He's taking on Stefan Struve in a fight where I'm going to take Bromley in. But anyways, going up to here, I thought the UFC in the countdown show for this card really did a damn good job of getting Ben Rothwell over. I thought, there was a lot of stuff that they explained well. Maybe they could have gone into a bit more detail, but I'm not going to complain too much, about his troubled past, how he was bullied, how he had like a life-altering spinal disease when he was a young child. So I thought they did a really good job there. This is going to be Rothwell's first fight since the Affliction Banned pay-per-view, and in a fight, in my opinion, he was doing pretty well on. It's just the cardio, in my opinion, he just quit, he just gave up on him. Like, he just ran out of energy. The cardio was done, and Arlovsky had that cardio and was able to just waylay on him, and that's just what happened there. A lot of people are out there just saying, this Ben Rothwell, I don't think he's going to get the job done. Well, if you recall, people, Ben Rothwell IFL was one of the most devastating heavyweights they had. Ben Rothwell in Affliction was doing pretty well in that fight. Just like I said, the cardio ran out. I think I'm taking Ben Rothwell. He's a veteran. He knows how to get the job done. He's made some changes in his training. His wrestling's damn good, and I think Cain's going to rely too much on that and stuff. Just try to get the takedown. And I think, Ben's takedown defense is going to be just as good. And Cain, we saw his chin is decent, but I don't think if he takes a bunch of, shots like he got from Congo, especially from Ben Rothwell, I think it's going to be lights out. So that's why I would take Ben Rothwell if you're, laying some money down on this one. That's just, my thoughts there. Yeah, but this should be a pretty interesting card. Of course, there's 2 free fights up on Spike TV as well. The other one of them would be Anthony Hardonk versus Wild Pat Barry. A lot of people are already picking Hardonk. I would disagree. Hardonk's been, talking smack about wanting to fight Brock Lesnar. He's probably got his mind off the fight. Pat Barry's coming off a devastating loss in his last outing in the UFC. I think we're going to get the best of Pat Barry. Lay the money down if you're going to bet on this fight. Lay money down on Wild Pat Barry. He's going to get the job done. First round knockout for show. What is the other fight? Yeah, it's Eric Red Schaefer against Ryan Darth Bader. And this fight, to me, is one where I'm going to have to pick an upset as well. I'm taking Eric Red Schaefer. I bet badly against Eric Schaefer in one of his outings against Houston Alexander. And now you're probably now going to say, how could you bet on Houston Alexander? Well, this is Houston Alexander suffering two consecutive, devastating losses in a row. The man needed a victory probably to stay, in real good contention or on main cards in the UFC. I thought he was going to go out there and blitz Schaefer. He kind of did, was in it for a bit. Schaefer just was the better man that night. I cannot bet against Eric Red Schaefer, so he's going to lay the job down. A lot of good stuff on this card as well, actually, so I can't hate on the card. It's just, like I said, the drawing stuff, it was tough, and it's in California where it's been a bad place for the UFC to draw, so definitely go out there and, support the show, put your money down for it, or, go to a sports bar or something, and, if they charge a cover, pay the $5 to get in, whatever. I think it's crappy that they do it, but pay the money. It's just a good way to do it. Anyways, moving along, of course, we had a pay-per-view in the world of professional wrestling last weekend, and that was TNA's Bound for Glory, or TNA's version of WrestleMania, or, their big show of the year. I'm going to be one of the few to say, while I didn't personally enjoy it as much as some others, I'm not going to say it was like, oh my god, this is the worst TNA show this year. Like, come on. V-Road. But it had moments of it that I liked, for sure. Like the Morgan Angle match, the Lashley Joe match. I like that. What else did I like? Part of Sting and AJ I liked. I just think that, TNA recently on their pay-per-views, in their finish department and their big matches, just out of nowhere. And there's, no build-up to it, and they just cut it off, which hurts the match in the long run for me. But, Of course, we start that show started out with the Ultimate X match, which was terrible, or was terrible for an Ultimate X match. It was not good. It was it was a spot fest, yeah, but it wasn't a good one. It wasn't like, oh my god, we gotta, the crowd wasn't that really into it. I for sure wasn't that into it. It was just, let's do crazy spot after crazy spot because it's, our biggest show of the year. First of all, the man who ever assembled the big structure portion of it, either was Tim Taylor from Home Improvement, or an incompetent fuck. Because this was the most unsafe structure I've ever seen in my life. Like, you see Homicide get up there, the whole thing's shaking and wobbling like fucking Jenga. So, like, this just scared me to death. It took me out of the match because I was more afraid for the lives of the professional wrestlers in this match than getting a damn X title or whatever. I believe I was the X title. So that's just my thoughts there. And plus, it's just another multi-man X Division match that hurt as well. But, some of the spots in here were just dumb. Like, and it was, like, scary, like, to see some of these guys taking these bumps, like these C4 or flux capacitator or Spanish fly, whatever you want to call it. Like, Chris Sabin nailed the side of his face hard on the mat. Then you had the crazy spot of fucking Christopher Daniels and Suicide doing, I believe it was supposed to be the same thing off the X thing, which, that's just not safe at all. Daniels landed really hard. It appeared to be on his neck, and that, I was like, oh my god, he just broke his neck. But he, actually, if you looked at it, he hit his shoulder pretty hard on the mat. That was just dumb. Like, they were doing a bunch of crazy spots for no reason. Which, I don't understand. I mean, at least with WWE, when they do their Money in the Bank ladder match on WrestleMania, like, yeah, it's a spot fest match, but they build up to the spots well, and they don't do too many of those type multi-man matches. TNA will have an X Division multi-man match every fucking pay-per-view this year. I believe so. Or, at least more than most. More than that. There are more of them than less. Let's just put it that way. So that was my thoughts there. The women's match was okay. Beautiful People really, really in the ring suck a lot more since Angelina's gone. But hey, I wasn't expecting them to be fucking incredible. The match was fine for a while. It's kind of hard for Sarita and Taylor Wilde to get great matches out of, Velvet, who's okay at best, and now is the best worker in the group. And, Madison Rayne was bleh. She almost broke Taylor Wilde's nose by, not wanting to go up for a German suplex. She's like, whoa, I'm not doing this. And then she's like, okay, let's do it. And that just hesitation, you lose your grip, you slip, goes down a bit. And, like, her back hit Taylor right in the nose, and it looked like her nose was about to be broken or fractured, but she seemed to be okay. What else did we get? I'm just trying to remember the triple threat for the Legends match was okay. The story of it worked out well. My problem was the finish. Like, he just throws Hernandez into Kevin Nash's nuts. Like, it's a logical finish, considering we're talking about total nonstop action wrestling. But come on, we can get to a better way. Like, there was miscommunication going on between Young and them. Young could have just been like, "Fuck you, Nash," and just attacked him, and then got the cover. Throwing Hernandez to the floor and then got the cover. It would have been a lot better, in my opinion. But the story of the match was good, and I guess maybe that's more important than actually how the match went. I don't know, but that's just my thoughts there. The Full Metal Mayhem, I was so disappointed with this match. Like, there were too many run-ins, and why did we need to have a Full Metal Mayhem match? This is like the third multi-man match on this show. We didn't need it, people. You could have just had, like, you didn't need to have Full Metal Mayhem. It could have just been a elimination tag match between the four teams. And it was just confusing. Like, when Rhino did his run and Devon took the belt down, I was like, don't they have to take both belts down? Like, isn't Devon just now one half? Like, they didn't really explain the rules that well. Abyss and Foley was, ugh, that was not good at all. I think a lot of people have already stated their opinions on it. Mine as well. This was just an amateur hour match. You can see a lot better independent hardcore matches than that. Especially when, they start off big and a spot that you technically should go home on. And even when you're getting your Abyss character, when Abyss is getting a big comeback going, you're missing half the spots because your production crew's retarded. I guess they had the preview camera. They were looking at the preview camera or monitor in the truck and thought that was the live show. Common mistake in the world of broadcasting, but, if you've been doing 10,000 pay-per-views a year, this shouldn't be a big deal. Other than that, Sting and AJ was okay. I will say that. It was going along well. The finishes came out of nowhere. And the promo thing at the end I was fine with, but I don't know. It's just like they were building it up. This will be Sting's last match. And he's like, I don't know if I'm done yet. Okay, well, that's just kind of counteracted your build. Lashley and Joe was a match I was really enjoying. It was really, really good. I'm going to be the one of the few to defend the finish as they built it up as a MMA versus pro wrestling match, and Lashley got this basically an Anaconda Vice on, choke on, and that's kind of like what happens in MMA. Like, a choke just comes out of nowhere, and you get the finish, you get the guy to submit. So basically, that's what they're going on. A lot of people are saying he could have fought like, Joe should have fought like Austin did at WrestleMania 13. But while I will agree he probably could have fought longer, they could have had better camera zooms in on Joe's face, I was fine with the finish for that show. And Angle and Morgan, they put on one of the better matches Matt Morgan has had. And, Kurt, that was probably Kirk's worst match on Bound for Glory, but still, it was a okay match. Or it was one of the better matches on the show, I should say that. And they have Kurt turned face, and I think I kind of like that direction as main event Mafia and Kurt heel wasn't going anywhere. So now they bring Kurt in with Nigel McGuinness, or as Desmond Wolfe. And while I loved how they did the thing with him making his debut and, laying the beat down, TNA completely fucking counteracted getting this name over. When you have Taz fucking say on Impact, yeah, Mike, that's a guy by the name of Nigel McGuinness. What is Taz doing? He doesn't even care. I think we've established this. He doesn't even care. He just throws shoot comments out there like, do you remember the last pay-per-view? Not Bound for Glory, but the one before that, him and Foley were talking about fucking, the one with Abyss and Nash, where fucking him and Foley were talking about, no one's yelling in our headset. Like, he doesn't even care. He just wants a paycheck and to sell FTW merchandise. Really, overall, I thought Bound for Glory was blush. But anyways, on Des, I think, Nigel in TNA, it is a better fit for him. People are saying that, WWE, he's saying he didn't sign with WWE, it was a business decision. But I'm going to more than likely take a look at the WWE portion of this as, Nigel's had a lot of injuries, especially, from the time he got the Ring of Honor belt in October of 2007. Torn bicep, concussions, blah, 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 blah. Whole bunch of that stuff. And, WWE's probably like, we can't take our, especially as much money we're going to offer you, we can't do that because of your, previous injuries, and especially on a WWE schedule, that's just not going to be a good thing for them. Don't freak out, Bryan Danielson is still in WWE. I don't see them ever rescinding the deal. Bryan Danielson's a guy that's always talked well of WWE in interviews. He's got great connections, whether it's Shawn Michaels, William Regal, Jim Ross is a big fan of him. And I think even though Jim Ross doesn't have as much power as he used to, they kind of still value a Jim Ross opinion and stuff. And Bryan Danielson is like 30,000 times better than that Eric Escobar guy. Fuck, did you see his match on SmackDown last week? Guy couldn't even fucking take a clothesline bump. Fuck that guy. Really. That's about it for this video. I've rambled on long enough. A bunch of stuff I could still talk about. Like, I really do want to talk about Shane leaving, and, what I think it could lead to for, either pro wrestling or, mixed martial arts. And a bunch of other stuff, like Bellator's now on NBC, but a bunch of stuff. We'll save that maybe for another video. The best way, if you want to know what I'm still up to, is Twitter account. I'll put that in the description box. And that's about it for me. I'm out. Peace.